That's why it blew up? Elon Musk shares details of the second Starship launch. We know what went wrong. New details regarding the third launch. How will it differ from the previous ones? Blue Origin rolls out the first new Glenn. Is this flight hardware? And China launches a rocket made up entirely of solid fuel motors. Can this even work? My name is Felix. Welcome to What About It? Let's dive right in. Starship updates. Last week we mentioned the 2017 SpaceX talk, and now we've got one for 2024. This one has so much new Starship info in it, it was worth the wait, trust me. It's been some time since we received an update on Starship from Elon Musk himself. Despite his earlier promise of monthly status briefings for X subscribers, the follow-through on that commitment has been less than consistent, with only one Q&A session since. However, we recently got something even better, a company presentation led by the man himself at Starbase. While we'll delve into the Falcon related news in the second half of this video, let's first analyze the meat everyone was waiting for, Starship. 2 months have passed since the second launch attempt, an event that left us with many unanswered questions. The explosion of the Super Heavy booster during that launch had a somewhat clear cause, but the fate of the ship itself remained shrouded in mystery. All we knew was that it too had exploded, but no one knew why. Now the mystery has been finally solved. Remember the liquid oxygen dump that was visible towards the end of the flight? It turns out that while this maneuver was intentional, it also inadvertently led to the destruction of the ship. Wait, how is that possible? Most likely some of the vented oxygen found its way into the engine section, sustaining a fire that triggered the flight termination system. According to Musk, there was nothing wrong with the ship itself. Had it carried a payload and not dumped the liquid oxygen, it likely would have successfully continued on its path to re-entry. The question that remains is, why carry more fuel than necessary? What's the point? And why not just put less fuel in it? Couldn't they have just filled it up less to not have to dump the fuel later? It all comes down to flight-like conditions. On later flights, Starship will carry a payload, so it will be heavier and require more fuel. If SpaceX would have changed these calculations, the entire flight plan would have changed. Less heavy upper stage means less engine thrust needed, less throttle on the Raptors, less long flight for the booster, different separation point, and so on. So they decided to leave it fully fueled. SpaceX did not expect the ship to explode after an oxidizer dump. While it is unfortunate that Ship 25 was lost while it could have survived, this is actually a good thing. It suggests that the design and structural integrity of the upper stage is good enough, and a simple adjustment to the procedures is all that's needed. This bodes well for Ship 28, which now stands a significantly higher chance of reaching orbit, this time for real. Elon Musk has officially confirmed what we've been suspecting for quite a while. Integrated Flight Test number 3 is going fully orbital. Of course, to accomplish this, the ship will need to perform a deorbit burn after completing its mission, a maneuver recently tested at the suborbital pad B. Musk also addressed the possibility of Starlink deployment during the third launch, and it appears that it's not going to happen anytime soon. The plan is to test out payload bay doors in space, but a real Starlink launch is scheduled for later this year. That is still great news. Another key confirmation from Elon is the planned test of propellant transfer between the ship's header tank and the main tank. However, a full-scale ship-to-ship propellant transfer is expected to be postponed until at least late 2024 or 2025. There is a reason why NASA recently delayed the Artemis 2 and 3 missions. SpaceX is developing technology at a lightning pace, but there are bottlenecks that can't be avoided. The main one currently is the launch cadence. Before we witness another Starship soaring into the sky, SpaceX's teams at Starbase have some crucial work to complete, related mostly to upgrading the orbital tank farm. This has involved removing 2 ground support equipment shells and decommissioning the GSE-8 tank previously used as a water tank. Without it, testing Starship isn't really an option anymore. Fortunately, we may have an answer to the question of how SpaceX intends to proceed without causing significant delays to the third launch. On January 12th, our photographer John captured an intriguing piece of hardware at the launch site. The object in question is unlike the cryogenic vessels we typically see at Starbase. It appears to be a simple water tank, also known as Starship's little cousin. This newly arrived tank could serve as a storage vessel for the small quantity of water necessary for operating the Fyrex system and several smaller subsystems. Following the tank's arrival, the next day saw the appearance of vaporizers. These are expected to be part of the new pressurization system for the tank farm itself. With work already proceeding, SpaceX might be aiming to install this new system ahead of the third Starship flight without resorting to any temporary solutions. All of this ongoing work is part of the company's shift towards a more compact, off-the-shelf horizontal storage solution, which also may soon grow. Aerial images, possible thanks to Red Line helicopter tours, show that the new farm currently consists of 6 white tanks. There are pedestals in place for 3 more tanks, potentially increasing the total to 9. On January 13th, 2 more tanks similar to these were spotted at the port of Brownsville, and it's highly likely they will be transported to the launch site soon. Perhaps by the time you're watching this, they are already installed. Interestingly, even though some of them have been here for months, they are yet to be integrated into the system. Hopefully, once the time comes, it will be a quick job. In the future, such upgrades won't be a huge deal, as Elon once again confirmed that the construction of a second launch tower at Starbase is about to begin. With 2 towers, you can just use the second one while the first one is being upgraded. During discussions about the expansion of Starbase, Musk shared a render showing 2 orbital launch integration towers positioned near one another. Maybe, after all, the suborbital tank farm and Pad B aren't going anywhere anytime soon. In the previous episode, we saw workers cutting the concrete beneath this test stand, leading to speculation about its potential removal. However, it now seems that this was done to replace the layer of concrete that got damaged after numerous static fires. While I still think that the suborbital site will be retired one day, the relocation of Pad B to Massey's seems increasingly unlikely. What do you think? Where will SpaceX put the second tower? Please let me know in the comments. Also, how about you go see all of this for yourself? Book your own ride at Starbase and see these things in person, or just enjoy one of the most incredible views in the world. Go to redlineheli.com/Felix. You'll find the link in the description as well. I promise you won't ever forget this. Okay, we've discussed the past and the present, but now it's time to visit the production site and talk about the future of SpaceX's Starship. The high bay and rocket garden currently house the last few V1 ships. This generation, while a huge leap over prototypes like SN15, wasn't optimized for the rapid production pace needed for ambitious endeavors like Mars colonization. Getting a V1 Starship flight ready can take months, sometimes more than a year. While this is relatively quick by traditional rocket engineering standards, it's not nearly fast enough for SpaceX. That's why the upcoming V2 ships promise to be more robust and will likely be streamlined for faster assembly. Elon Musk has been somewhat vague about the specifics of this new generation, but since they are giving it a whole new name, the modifications have to be significant. One such change could involve adopting new dome types, leading to more compact forward, common and aft domes, possibly enlarging fuel tanks or increasing the volume of the payload bay. The presentation also hinted at a new payload bay door design opening like a car's trunk with 3 metal pieces, as opposed to the current sliding doors. However, this might just be an old render, so don't take it too seriously. We don't expect to see a 9-engine ship in the V2 generation, and the overall size of the prototypes should remain unchanged for now. Elon Musk has indicated that the first stretched Starship will be part of the V3 lineup, which is reportedly already in the design phase. That's what you call forward thinking. V2 isn't in production yet, and they are already working on version 3. When version 3 arrives, it is likely that both stages of Starship will see an increase in height. Musk envisions a rocket standing 140 to 150 meters or 460 to 490 Freedom units tall. Such a taller Starship could use some additional oomph, potentially leading to a version of the upper stage equipped with 6 Raptor vacuum engines. However, if SpaceX wants to speed up the production rate and increase the reliability of the prototypes at the same time, a simple high bay and a few tents won't cut it anymore. Foreign object damage is a real concern in rocket manufacturing, potentially leading to scrapped prototypes. That's why SpaceX has been expanding its Star Factory, with SpaceX COO Gwynne Shotwell stating that the factory will be able to pump out a new ship every 72 hours. Our latest aerial photos show just how quickly that factory is expanding. The new segment construction has been so efficient that SpaceX was finally able to dismantle the last production tent, which was previously used for ship nose cone work. It could be a sign that the taller section of the factory now has enough tooling so the production can be fully transitioned there. Unfortunately, there is still no sign of a glass front for the building. However, progress at Starbase is accelerating to such a degree that news will shift over to launches instead of ship segment movements. Things will be much more exciting than that. Predicting the completion date of the Star Factory is challenging. It could be just a few months away, or it might stretch into 2025. What do you think? When will we see the Star Factory fully operational? Share your predictions in the comments below. Let's talk about staying safe online with Surfshark VPN, the sponsor of today's video. Surfshark VPN is not just a VPN, it's an antivirus and an identity protector too. I always use it because it keeps my online browsing safe. Surfshark provides a special email for privacy and it alerts me immediately if any of my data has been leaked online. With Surfshark's VPN, I can switch my online location, avoiding unwanted attention and picking from various places. Stay safe and save with Surfshark VPN. Get a special deal at Surfshark. Enter promo code Felix to get up to 6 additional months for free at surfshark.deal/Felix. Surfshark, surf with your own set of rules. Now here's a little task for you before we continue with the news. YouTube may have unsubscribed you without your knowledge. This has happened to thousands of Y viewers and they seem to do this frequently. Please double check that you've hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. And while checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a Y supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including orbital, aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. No matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. Check our new website as well. Launch previews, road closures, the latest weather reports and our multi-stream viewer, whataboutit.space. The link to our Patreon page and the new website is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams for our team. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Going back to the news, we're continuing with the 2024 SpaceX company talk, as Starship was just a small part of it. SpaceX's primary focus has been on its workhorse, the Falcon 9, as well as Starlink and Dragon. As you may remember, SpaceX managed to reach 19 flights with a single booster in 2023 thanks to B1058. However, the booster met an unfortunate end when it tipped over while returning to the port. Rest in peace. Now, SpaceX sets its sights even higher, aiming to certify Falcon 9 for an astounding 40 flights. That is a higher flight count for a single booster than some rockets' entire launch history. In 2018, Elon Musk stated that a Falcon 9 booster could be reused over 100 times. At the time, this seemed like an overstatement, to say the least. 6 years later, it is not a question of if, but when it is going to happen. Musk also brought attention to an often overlooked aspect of Falcon 9 reuse, the fairing. SpaceX has successfully reflown fairings more than 300 times, and through fairing reuse alone, the company has saved over $1.8 billion. To put this into perspective, that's enough money to build 60 Falcon boosters, and that's assuming a worst case scenario cost of $30 million per booster. This is why every launch company should think about reuse. After nearly hitting 100 flights in 2023, SpaceX is targeting around 150 launches for 2024. This is getting out of hand. If everything goes to plan, they will achieve a 24-hour pad turnaround by year's end, so seeing multiple launches per day may become the new norm. Things are also looking great for SpaceX's secondary source of income, Starlink. With 2.3 million subscribers, the service has gained over 1 million new users in just a year. While Starlink is already operational in many countries, Musk's vision is to enable up to half the world's population to access the internet in the near future. This year, we can look forward to the introduction of a new version of the Starlink terminal, as well as a compact mini version that can be attached to a backpack. This could be a game changer for long trips. When it comes to Dragon, 2024 is shaping up to be a busy year with an expected 7 or 8 Dragon launches. These are primarily composed of missions to the ISS, including NASA crew launches and private Axiom missions. However, the most anticipated Dragon mission is definitely the Polaris Dawn flight, poised to make history with the first ever spacewalk conducted by a private company. A new render of the Extravehicular Activity or EVA suit has been revealed. Juicy details. This suit is a beefed up version of the pressure suit currently used in Dragon. For the upcoming EVA, the suit will be tethered to provide life support. However, SpaceX's future plans involve developing a standalone unit suitable for lunar and Martian exploration. The year 2024 promises to be a thrilling one for SpaceX and for all of us watching these groundbreaking developments unfold. But SpaceX isn't the only company with grand aspirations for 2024. Blue Origin, for example, is inching closer to the maiden flight of their new rocket. Named after John Glenn, the first American to orbit Earth, New Glenn is a partially reusable heavy lift vehicle. It aims to rival Falcon Heavy, Long March 5 and even Starship in some edge case scenarios. It's been 12 years. However, Blue Origin rarely offers any updates on the progress towards the first launch. At one point, everyone was joking that the company might one day simply roll out the rocket and launch it without prior announcement. Surprisingly, this joke is slowly turning into reality as more components of the rocket are popping up everywhere. In early December 2023, 2 fairings for New Glenn were observed en route to Launch Complex 36, which is the primary launch pad for the new rocket. This site has a rich history, initially serving as the launch facility for the original Atlas rockets of the 1960s, not to be confused with the modern Atlas V. Blue Origin took over in 2015, extensively modifying the facility to suit their requirements. Fast forward to January 10th and our Florida photographer John captured an interesting event: the transport of a New Glenn booster to LC-36. This definitely wasn't the Pathfinder Blue Origin had previously showcased. Instead, this appears to be actual or at least partial flight hardware. It's the same tank spotted back in November, now fitted with an aft section and an interstage. However, there are indications that not all components are flight ready. The interstage is lacking its fins, not to mention the not for flight marking. The aft section is obviously missing the 7BE4 engines or any plumbing in general. Shortly after the rollout, Blue Origin's new CEO David Limp shared an image of the second stage on LinkedIn. The upper stage is equipped with 2 BE3U engines, but here again, the engine's frame is labeled not for flight, hinting that at least parts of this will never fly. We expect that the second stage will soon be transported to the pad as well. With all parts going to LC-36, a full stack seems to be just weeks away, this time likely only for fitment and maybe tank testing. It's about time, as NASA has selected the rocket for the Escapade mission, which involves sending 2 satellites to study Mars's magnetosphere. If New Glenn doesn't launch by Q4 2024, the mission would likely get delayed by 2 years, waiting for the next Mars launch window. Can they do it? What do you think? I'll be reading those comments. In other space news, as the space community was still reeling from the successful Vulcan Centaur launch, another rocket made its debut, this time from China. Meet the Gravity 1, a medium lift vehicle capable of delivering up to 6,500 kilograms or 14,300 freedom pounds to low Earth orbit. What makes this rocket particularly interesting is not only that it launches from a ship, but also that it looks like something straight out of Kerbal Space Program. I mean, look at the thing. You see, Gravity 1 is entirely powered by solid rocket motors, 7 of them to be exact. 1 core stage, 4 boosters, a second stage and a third stage. Using solid propulsion for precise orbital insertion can be challenging, as the thrust of each stage cannot be regulated in real time or cut off. However, if you can make the motor precise enough, you will be rewarded with a rocket that is cheaper and easier to produce, with the added benefits of easier storage and minimal ground support requirements. It looks like this is precisely what Orion Space mastered, as on January 11th, Gravity 1 successfully launched 3 Junzhao-1 weather satellites, joining the exclusive group of vehicles that have achieved orbit on their first attempt. But damn, look at that poor ship! Congratulations to Orion Space for the successful launch as well as the remarkable media coverage of the entire event. We saw some truly outstanding shots. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Yes. Also in a for ambitious endeavors like Mars to the current slitting, vision is to enable up to half. I'm sorry.